Really cool. You're also gonna change the kickstand now, guys. Alright? Let's take a quick look at tonight. Hopefully I'm all good, guys. I rolled over something.
What's good, everybody? I'm just gonna let this run one more time. I had muted it for a quick second and didn't realize that I had unmuted, but yeah, we'll get to it.
Hopefully I'm all good, guys. I rolled over something.
If you guys are tuned in, make sure you hit that thumbs up. You know the deal.
Yeah, I know. I see project branding logo that's on here. Really cool. You're also gonna change the kickstand now, guys. Alright? Let's take a quick look at tonight. Hopefully I'm all good, guys. I rolled over something.
All right, we'll just let it run one more time. That's it.
Yeah, I know. I see project branding logo that's on here. Really cool. You're also gonna change the kickstand now, guys. Alright? Let's take a quick look at tonight. Hopefully I'm all good, guys. I rolled over something.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to another Freestyle Sunday. Super excited for our guest tonight and for everybody that's tuned in. Just going to quickly highlight everyone. Of course, the usual, you guys know the deal, always do that very early on in the stream. That way we show love and appreciation to everybody else tuning in. Oh, man. There we go. You know what's dope? No matter how much you do this, I guess you tend to just get used to it, and then you do it a lot better and a lot quicker and smoother. So that's kind of cool. But what's good with everybody tonight, man? If you have any comments, any suggestions you want to throw on while we're live, always love hearing those, and we like to make that part of our conversation. So here we go. Let's do a quick little highlight, and then we'll kind of go through what's been going on with the channel and the temperature of things. All right. We have a regular, of course. We have Governor D Nice in the building. What's good, sir? Appreciate you tuning in. I did spot you in that latest video I pulled up today. We have Buds Tsuno. Every week, I think I struggle with your name, but I'm just gonna say Buds. Donna Main's in the building. What's good, sir? Nizoni Moto. Hopefully, I'm saying that correctly. Really cool seeing you there. I think. If I were to guess, you're the wife of Brooklyn Moto Mark's spouse, right? I think. I'm guessing here, but maybe. Of course, wifey's in the building, always here to show love and support. Love that. And, of course, more people tend to join in as the night go on. We do have the Iron Shepherd. Dude, appreciate you coming through, saying what's up. So, just, guys, wanted to kind of touch base here. For the week, it's been pretty busy on the channel. This is probably one of the biggest week on the channel where I've done a significant amount of work where a bunch of uploads. I did up to 4 uploads. Hopefully I could bring up that frequency. That helps with the algorithm. Again, if you're tuning in, you're watching this now or you're watching this later, hitting that thumbs up is a huge help, and it's going to help the channel grow. That way I can bring forth more content or more guests, more people. So that's a huge deal. And of course, I always have a link in the description. If you guys are always looking for parts or anything premium for your motorcycle, you guys know the deal. All the bikes behind me, they are all built out of Motivation USA. Thanks to them, they're able to partner with the channel and sponsor most of the bills and take care of me and you guys. So definitely hit that link down below if you're looking for parts. So last week on Livestream stream, all right, there was a lot of questions coming through, and I had a great time. It wasn't a huge success on that stream, only because it was just a slow one-on-one Q&A where we had like a lot of conversation, which I actually enjoyed tremendously. But view-wise, it didn't go as far, but that's okay. It's not what it's all about every single time. I had a great night, you know, and I'm super grateful that you guys were able to tune in, even though it was during Super Bowl weekend. So that was really, really cool. But one of the key questions that was asked by one of you guys was, should you ride your motorcycle without insurance? And I bumped into a really cool guy, a great creator. He just moved out of DC to New York, so I kind of figured it'd be a great way to give him a warm welcome and kind of bring him on the stream. He doesn't have a huge channel. It's Zach. His actual channel is in the description. I'd appreciate you guys to go and drop him a sub. Give him a little bit of encouragement, because he does produce some really cool content. You know what? Let's just throw that on real quick. By the way, what's good, Elijah, man? Glad you're here, sir. I appreciate you. Always a pleasure to see you, Elijah, you being on the stream. Oh, look at that. We have Mig. Mig's here as well, which is really cool. Mig, what's good with you and wifey, sir? Always good to see Mig coming on. I know he usually works on Sundays, so I appreciate you coming through saying what's up, man. So I know it's taking out of your time, so appreciate that. But yeah, like I was saying a little bit earlier, guys, if you can, I'd appreciate it if you guys go through and go to Zach's channel and definitely give him a watch, man. Let's take a quick look here at some of his creative content. I just want to kind of quickly highlight this and show you guys. This is what I saw and kind of watch a couple of his videos. I'm like, we got to get him on, especially with his story of his bike getting stolen out here in New York. So let's take a quick look. The kid's got talent, man. There we go. I had to kind of show you guys that, man. That was really cool. Let's see here. There we go, guys. I had to kind of show you guys that clip, and just again, I bumped into him on YouTube, and I'm like, hey, this guy is perfect for the channel. Like his style, like his workflow. So I thought, hey, might as well bring him on since we're talking about bikes getting stolen. I'm gonna let Zach introduce himself and kind of give you guys a little bit the lowdown on him, man. What's good, Zach?
Oh, what's up, Mike? Thanks so much for having me, man. I wish it was under slightly better circumstances. It's gonna be a little bit painful to kind of have to relive this story. As you guys saw, sort of my beloved Panigale is no longer with us. But I'm really, really pumped to be here and, excited to kind of get to know a lot of the subscribers and the people, of the Clutch First community. And yeah, just excited.
Yeah, man. So what's so funny that last week during our stream, I got a couple of questions where they ask, "Where is it okay to ride your bike without insurance?" kind of thing like that. I think it's one of those very amateurish thing that you think when you're young and you feel strong, you're feeling good about yourself. You're like, I could be out there,
Right.
Nothing's gonna happen. And guys, this is exactly the reason why I highly recommend, whether it's an expensive bike, just a beater, something you ride every day, you enjoy, just insure your bike. Because when something does go down, you want to have that safety net. So, let's have Zach kind of tell us where he's coming from, guys. Originally, he's out of DC, so I'll let him talk about that and being new to New York and stuff. And then we'll dive into the story. We're not just going to jump straight into it where it's like, yeah, this is what happened. So you guys going to hang in there and hear all of it. Go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, no. So I was in DC for about 4 years before finally making the move up to New York. It was something that I always really wanted to do. And I always had sort of the work flexibility, but my girlfriend, her job, we were kind of rooted in DC. And then, one of this, very minimal perks of the whole COVID pandemic was her job went remote, and it kind of gave us the flexibility to be able to finally make the jump up here. And just to kind of, hark on what you just said about insurance, definitely get insurance. Because, I got my first bike when I was about 22, 23. And I remember sort of looking at the different levels of insurance that you could get. And I was like, oh, I can get away with just sort of the basic coverage. Whatever gets me this bike, it gets me on the road. I'm just first job out of college. But very, very glad that I had actual insurance once I got here to New York. Because you feel invincible. And I definitely felt invincible and was naive to what could happen. And I paid the price. So glad I had insurance.
I think it's just a common thing, man. We all tend to feel strong when we're like early 20s. It's like, yeah, I don't even need full coverage because I'm just never going to dump it. I'm just that guy.
You're never going to drop the bike.
Yeah.
No chance.
You're not going to drop it. Nobody's going to touch it. Nobody's going to back up into your bike and dip it out when you're stepping away from it. It's just the level. I'm not saying you shouldn't lose that level of positivity around yourself, as you get a little bit older. But it's just one of those invincible things that you have. You know what I mean? It's like my dad would be like, yeah, you just feel invincible. So it's like as you start, getting a little bit more life experience, you realize, a little safety net is a smart thing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, man.
It's not admitting defeat.
I agree. So I'm assuming you've been pretty active out here in DC when you were there originally riding and stuff like that. What are some other bikes you've owned prior to the Panigale 959? Well, custom Panigale 959.
Yeah, so that was actually my fourth motorcycle. My first bike was a Monster 696, which, it's funny enough, like there's really nothing like the first bike that you own. Like I still dream about that bike, and it kind of still gives me a feeling that even with a much faster Panigale, like I always, like you're always chasing that first feeling that you get with your first motorcycle.
Yeah.
But I picked up the 696, my first year out of school, right when I just gotten settled in DC, and had that bike for about 6-8 months. And then I decided, okay, I want something a little bit more powerful. I kind of felt like I was ready to take a next step. And, I'd really been lusting after the Street Fighter 848 since I was in college. Like that was the first bike that I ever saw online that kind of gave me that aha moment of I want a motorcycle and I want to get into bikes. And, I got a raise at work and I was like, okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is go and spend more money now that I am making a little bit more money. Cause that's what you do when you first
right back to square one,
the
right?
World, you make dumb decisions. Yep.
Oh man, that's great.
I wasn't even patient enough to wait until I sold my 696. I just went out and bought a Street Fighter. I think honestly within a couple weeks after I'd made the decision that I had to have one. Became obsessed, obviously. So I picked up the 848. And that really became sort of my like go-to daily bike. And I absolutely loved that bike. Ended up selling the 696, and then I was riding the Street Fighter bunch, but then I kind of missed the air-cooled feel of the Monster because as I'm sure you know, it's hard to only have one bike. Sometimes you're in the mood for something different. So then I picked up an 1100 Monster.
No. Go on.
So you get it. So I picked up an 1100, and then that was kind of just like my daily. I had those two bikes, and I would just kind of flavor of the day depending on how I was feeling. And about a year before I moved to New York, I ended up selling both and then getting the Panigale 959.
Nice. That's a good look. I know you have another very interesting story about you getting from DC to New York, guys. This guy, I guess, is super excited about being in New York. He actually moved here. I'll let you get to it. And then you had a buddy bring it down for you. How old is that, man? That's pretty cool.
I did. And I actually sent him the link to this live stream, so he might be tuning in right now. But he actually helped me do the move. Okay. It was the worst move of my entire life. We had to, just between the two of us, move out like an entire 25-foot moving truck. And it wasn't that bad of a summer in New York, but that day it was like 102 degrees with like 90% humidity. And we're moving all of this stuff into like the second floor of like a brownstone walk-up. So that was miserable. So complete MVP for helping me not have to hire movers there. And then a week later, he went and got my bike for me and rode it all the way to New York. Only for it to be stolen a week later.
I'm sure it was a very difficult thing for him to pick up a 959 custom Panigale and enjoy his way through New York, all the way to New York. It was so difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whenever you need that done.
Right. No, he hates every opportunity to ride it.
Yeah. Just if ever that comes up, your buddy, I'm your new buddy. Just call me. I'll write it down for you. No problem. Oh man. So guys, here's the deal. So he actually finally got that bike out here in New York, which is great, right? He's moved out here. I guess it's fairly new, both him and his girl and stuff. I guess not knowing the ropes. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm watching the video. I saw his video talking about how his bike got stolen. I'm like, holy shit, nobody told him you have to garage your bike. So and it's a custom bike. It's not like a standard bike. Even if insurance were to cut your check for you to go buy another motorcycle, it's not the same. The amount of work and effort that was taken, the time taking the bike apart, or even paying someone to do all this work for you, if that's the path that you went, which we'll cover that, you don't get the same bike. You know, it's not the same VIN number. It's not the same personality. And every now and then you might even get a bad bike, knowing that you already had a great bike, no issues, and that you have to fight the insurance company. That's one thing that a lot of people tend to not talk about a lot, because they do their darnest to make sure that they do not give you the full value of your motorcycle, or at least the worth of it, or a minimum at least. So that's another aspect of this that's very difficult that people don't kind of talk about, when they're dealing with insurance company. You pay them monthly, which I recommend just do it yearly if it's something that's in your budget. That way you never miss. You miss, let's say if your due date is the 21st for your bill, and then it's like, oh, lots going on, and it's not on auto pay. You missed it by like 30 minutes, like over 12 o'clock at night. That's it. It's like, hey, it's been canceled. And then they up your charge. It's just all kind of weirdness. So do it yearly so you don't even have to worry about any of that stuff. So yeah, man. So tell us about the that day, that torturous day. I'm gonna let you even highlight this on your own, because I'm not even gonna say anything to the story. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it really gets even worse because I had been talking with the guys at Gotham Depot Moto, sort of a motorcycle garage, like motorcycle club that had opened up during COVID. And I believe it was a Wednesday, I went there to see them, sort of see the facilities, check it out. I got my space set up, my locker, everything. And they were like, oh, you can leave the bike here tonight. And I was like, I'm going to come this weekend. I've got a ride plan with a buddy tomorrow. I'm going to take it home tonight, and then I'll bring it back this weekend. And that night was the night that it ended up getting stolen. I remember waking up in the morning. My girlfriend and I, we have a Great Dane, and we live really close to Central Park. So we take him in the morning every morning for off-leash hours. So right around like 7 a.m., we go to the park for about an hour. We're letting him run, play, do all of that. And I remember it was a really, really nice day. Like, it was the summertime, but it was probably like 70 degrees, a little bit of wind, like really perfect riding weather. And I was walking back on Fifth Avenue, and I remember telling my girlfriend, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna take the bike out for the day, really explore the city. And we get back and we're walking on our street, and I'm looking over to my right, and I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure you know that moment where like your kind of your stomach drops, and you're like, oh, I think I left my bike there. But usually, always it was just in between two other cars. So I look and I'm like, oh my God, I think my bike isn't there. And I'm like, no, it has to be. I must have parked it a little ways up. And I'm walking a little further, and then that moment sinks in where it's like, no, it's gone. And I didn't even scream or freak out. I just kind of looked to my girlfriend, and she's like, what's going on? I'm like, oh, my bike is gone. And she's like, what do you mean your bike is gone? I'm like, it's gone. It's gone forever. I'm never going to see this again. And it just kind of like quickly, I spent like probably 30 to 45 minutes in a state of disbelief as I waited for the cops to come. And, they were, this was very routine for them. Obviously, they've seen this before. The thing that really was annoying was there's a couple other bikes literally on my block, and they were completely fine and not touched.
Wait. Let me stop you for a second. He's like, there's a couple of bikes on the block that was never touched. Guys, I've played the video in the beginning. He expects to have his bike, right? This freaking super elite looking bike that's custom. I mean, it's just like, it has two impacts. Either you see this bike and like, oh my God, that's my dream bike kind of thing. Or it's going to be one of those bikes where, oh man, this guy has spent way too much money on it kind of thing. And then he has it amongst a bunch of everyday, beaters. Now, you'll see a lot of, it's pretty common out here in New York. You'll see a lot of daily rider motorcycles that's been sitting out in the snow. People don't really care about them too much. I'll actually even show you a place down at below the Queensbridge where a lot of people just park their bikes and just put tarps over them. It's like they don't really care too much about the bike, but it's one of those things where they use them as a regular bike. So I'm assuming you interpret it as if, oh, everybody has their bike out here, so I'll put mine too, huh?
Yeah, no, as you so eloquently put it, I was incredibly naive, and I thought I spent 4 years in DC never having an issue, and obviously New York is a different animal, but you start to kind of feel a little bit untouchable, and I figured a couple of days that'll be fine before I put it in the garage. Like, what's the worst that could happen? I live on the Upper East Side; it's a nice area, but no, didn't matter.
Yeah, out here it doesn't matter because the thing is, once the sun goes down, everyone is kind of mobbing through the streets, and it's like they're proud, they're looking at everything, no matter how beautiful the place you live in. It's just like one of those things, and people will definitely test your patience. I've actually seen another gentleman's bike that was stolen. He had a Monster 1200, and they found his bike in Central Park, and I think it was a very similar situation to yours, where when they found his bike, they couldn't take the motorcycle. But you could see his harness was completely shredded. They were trying to figure out how to hotwire it. Since technology has moved on, it's a lot more difficult to hotwire a bike. And his bike was recovered. So did you ever even find the bike to get to that?
So I filed a police report. I remember literally saying to the cop when I was at the station, I'm like, we're never going to see this bike again, right? And he's like, oh, probably not. They kind of gave me my paperwork, sent me on my way. I start the insurance process. And like 2 weeks later, I get a call from just a New York number. I'm still pretty new at this point. I don't really have anybody calling me from New York numbers. So I pick it up, and it's a cop, and she's like, yo, you're Zach, right? And I'm like, yeah. She's like, we've found it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? She's like, we found your bike. And I was like, do I even want to know what condition that you have found it in? She's like, it looks fine. And she tells me the address, and I still don't know the city yet. So I'm like, oh, where is that street? I'm thinking I'm going to have to go somewhere really, really far. It's like 4 blocks from my apartment. So they'd obviously sort of busted the wheel lock and rolled it down the street, which for those of you who know, rolling it, that's a lot of work. Some guy was clearly determined to roll it 4 blocks down the street. Yeah. And they had kind of stashed it and left it under this scaffolding right sort of at the edge of the city, sort of overlooking the East River. And it upon like sort of first glance, it looked fine. You go up to it, and the same type of thing had been tried. They obviously tried to hotwire it. Some of the wires were kind of pulled out, the plastic sort of broken up, and I couldn't get the key to turn it all. So the bike could not be moved whatsoever. So it had to be towed.
So, what's the funny thing is, the minute that they shred your wiring. It's almost as if it would have been better they just stole it and you never gotten it back. At least you can go to the insurance and say, hey, my bike got stolen. Cut me this check. Let's figure this out. But now we're talking about a whole other issue. We're talking about Ducati and having your harness getting dragged. So you guys know how that goes. So I'm assuming it costs you a little bit to kind of get that taken care of. So what happened then?
It did. So I had to get a tow truck and I had to get it sent to Ducati NYC. And like you mentioned, once it had gotten taken and I really just had no idea what was being done to it, you almost kind of don't want the bike back. Yeah. Like when the police, they called me at first, I was kind of like, I don't really want this bike back because who knows what condition it's in. Yeah. And, you know, that's your bike, you know, it's your, you know, sacred thing in a lot of ways. And just to have had somebody kind of mess with it and mistreat it. But I had to send it to Ducati NYC. So I'm on the phone with the insurance. I'm trying to get them to send a tow truck. And it ends up being like 2-3 weeks. It's at Ducati, New York. And I think it cost me like $1,300 after insurance for me to pay for all of the stuff that needed to get done to it. And everything. And, you know, they had done other things too. You know, like they had put some scratches into my custom wrap and everything, which the insurance kind of rolled their eyes at. But I'm like, it matters to me. You know, they ruined this wrap.
I said that they're gonna try to weasel their way out. They're gonna tell you all kind of excuses. Go ahead. Sorry.
Right. Yeah. So obviously, you know, I'm out $1,300, and I'm not even getting everything that I feel like has been damaged on the bike. It's not being taken care of. So literally, from the moment that I got the bike out, you know, I've been kind of talking to all the Gotham Depot Moto guys during all of this because they were like texting me on Saturday. They're like, "Oh, you coming in?" I'm like, "You guys will never believe what happened." And they were, you know, they felt bad, but they're laughing at me a little bit. You know, they're like, "We're going to use this as like our best marketing pitch." You know, the guy who comes to New York decides to think on it and wait a couple days, and his bike gets taken. So you should be a member here. Yeah. So I had it immediately sent from Ducati New York to Gotham Depot, and it was there for probably 2-3 months, and that was great. You know, going and hanging out at the club.
Hold on 1 second. So right after that, when they so you had the garage right after, which is great. But now here's the thing, guys. I don't know if you guys noticed one thing that Zach mentioned. He paid $1,300 out of pocket outside of insurance paying the rest. So you're talking about the damage might have been $3,000, $3,500. So I'm assuming they're not gonna Mod Podge your harness. So I'm assuming it took maybe 2 to 3 weeks. They had the bike. We're talking about them rewiring that bike.
Yep.
So labor, and they're not gonna splice it. So they're probably gonna partner with their insurance company and let them know that, hey. And in most cases, in a situation like this, guys, especially if it's being done by an official dealership and it's a thing for Ducati, they're not gonna give you a bike back. That's because if you go back and look at it and say, hey man, they kind of spliced my wire. It's not a good look. I'm assuming the entire harness might have been replaced, labor, and he still kind of had to be out of $1,300. So most likely the overall cost might have been $3,500. Who knows? So, but it was way higher than that, man. So, again, definitely you want to insurance your bike in case of anything. This is kind of a worst case scenario because what I've seen of late, I mean, what they did with Zach's bike was probably maybe somebody that's just starting out, maybe a kid that wanted to do joyride or something like that. I thought it was a cool bike to have. In most cases, they just bring a truck. They won't mess with your bikes. This is why I'm under the impression that it was completely not someone who wanted your bike and to get rid of it. It was probably a young kid who was like, hey man, I want this bike. I'm going to take it. We're going to joyride. They try to hotwire it. Somebody that's trying to take your bike, that's going to find value in it, meaning reselling it to someone else or in the black market. They're going to bring a truck. 3 guys are going to come out. They're going to lift your bike within under 2 minutes. It would disappear. And they don't do any damage, and then later on they figure out the key situation without causing any damage. That's the pro way they do it. Whenever I'm speaking as if I do this for a living, but I'm just saying that's how it goes down. But since the harness was damaged, most likely it could have been somebody young that's looking to have like a fun bike or a bike just to mess around in the summer kind of thing. You will see a bunch of dirt bike riders that are riding through the city when summer comes around. A lot of these bikes are stolen, or I mean, they claim that they're legal, but we know the deal. They're really not. But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, so what ended up happening afterwards when you had your bike out there at the shop?
So the shop was great. I mean, a bunch of really cool, other sort of moto enthusiasts to hang out with. It's really really nice facility. And I would sort of just kind of come back and forth from Manhattan out in Greenpoint whenever I wanted to ride my bike. I don't have to commute into an office, so it was really just purely for like sort of pleasure and fun riding around the city for me. So I had it there for probably. I moved in May, and this all happened right literally like the week that I moved there. So then I kept it there for the rest of the summer, and I decided that over the winter I'm gonna send this bike back home. And because I was also deciding, riding the Panigale specifically in the city, was not the most comfortable. So I had kind of gotten into my mind that I was going to go and get a monster again, something a little bit more feasible for the city, send the Panigale home. At that time I didn't know about all the great riding roads outside of the city yet, which probably would have made it a little bit more fun. So I finished up my month of membership with the boys at Gotham, and I had my buddy coming to get the bike that weekend, and I think I pulled it out Thursday, and I brought it back. And at this point I'd kind of become tight with a few of the doormen in the building next door, and they were all interested in my bike. They were really upset about the first time that it had gotten taken, and they told me that I could put it right in front of their building where they're they're there 24/7. So I do that. It's only going to be like 48 hours. I'm like, okay, it's going to be fine. First night, it's completely fine. It's there in the morning. I take it out for a ride that day. And then the next night, they're filming the new Sex and the City reboot on our street. And, they block off, one side of the entire street because all the production crews and the film trucks have to be able to park there, get all the wiring set up and everything. And my bike happened to be on that side of the street, right in front of the doormen. And so I had to move it across the street and maybe 10, 15 feet up from where they were. Had it parked in front of a place with a ton of cameras as well, right in between two cars. And I came out in the morning and it was gone again. Just completely disappeared again. And at that point, I just couldn't help but laugh. It's like a sick joke. And, it's entirely my fault for even like exposing it to that again. I mean, just like one of the dumbest things that I've ever done for sure.
Oh, man. I bet you guys did not see that coming. So now the bike is gone for a second time. That's pretty wild, man. Anyway, just give me 1 second, Zach. 1 sec. Just going to do a little roll call I usually do. Guys, if you're tuning in, a couple of things I want to mention. I always do it every half an hour or so, or every 20 minutes. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. If you're watching this later, make sure you hit that thumbs up. You could always comment down below. I'll reply to your comment. Even though you're not part of the current live chat as part of the stream, we appreciate you tuning in. And don't be that guy. Watch the whole thing all the way through. Most people tend to either listen to this when they're driving to work or something like that. That helps with the algorithm and the channel. If you want this to grow, that's how it happened. But afterwards, make sure you hit up Zach's channel and drop him a sub, man. He definitely needs it because, damn, they took his goddamn bike. So, yeah, man, show him some love, man. Hopefully we can kind of get the ball rolling. We will be doing some content this season when it comes around. He's definitely a very creative individual. I think you guys would find his work pretty good. I'm just going to quickly go through the comments real quick before we go back to the story. Hang in there, okay? 1 second, Zach. Yeah, guys, if you have any questions or any comments, which bike he should get next, because that's one thing now we're talking about, because I thought you guys thought this was going to end as a happy story, but yeah, the bike was stolen a second time, which kind of truly suck. There we go. Let's see here. I know there were a couple of comments here about, oh, hey, what's good, Mr. West? It's been a while, dude. Congratulations. I saw that you picked up a new bike. Mr. West is in the building. He's out there in Vegas. He tunes into the channel as well. NYC Street Triple. What's up, man? Again, if you guys are just tuning in, hit that thumbs up. Drop Zach a sub. I'd really appreciate it, guys. We got to show everyone that comes through and be part of this community that we support one another. So we'd love to see his channel grow, since he's definitely has really cool talent. I could see his channel becoming the next big thing out here. So that's kind of cool. You're already getting some question about your next bike. I can't pronounce your tag, by the way, but we will answer most of those questions as we're going, guys. Futuristic Viper, what's up, man? He's asking about wiring harness costs. We will kind of talk about pretty much most of those, guys. The reason why I'm doing this, I want to make sure that you guys are aware that we are paying attention to the comments, sorry, plural, and that we will be going back over and replying to everything here. I have here by the same the gentleman here. I say Douglas. I think that's what your tag is supposed to be, Douglas. Yep, my Harley Sportster was stolen in November. Yeah, man, it's a tough thing out here in New York. I mean, we also have my boy 5 Up, of course, blowing kisses. He's a fool. Let me see what I got here. If I missed anyone here. No, I did not. Yeah. Oh, he's also asking if you covered your bike. Guys, again, you have to remember, he's fairly new to New York, guys. You know, you live somewhere your entire life. Things have always been really good, and you never had any issues. And again, you tend to take that with you, and you don't think anything of it. So there's a good chance, you know. I would assume that his bike might have been covered, but who knows? But, yeah, let's bring Zach back on so that way he can finish up the story. I just want to make sure that I wanted to acknowledge you guys for a second. Here you go, Zach.
Yeah, so I guess to answer that comment, my bike was covered, but I mean, it really doesn't do much of anything. I'm assuming it's at least the second time people had seen it and really, you know, seen it around the neighborhood and they knew what they were looking for. So it didn't really seem to matter all that much. But
I'm gonna tell you this before you say something. You know, one key thing about New York, if you walk by anywhere, if it's in the daytime, the bike's not covered. Obviously, the person's near. They could see the bike at all times. Remember, I was telling you about usually if I'm having dinner with my wife or lunch, I could see the bike, whatever. If it's not snowing or raining, your bike is covered out here in New York, you have some dope shit, and we're going to take it. That's exactly what it is. You had like the clear cues that says whatever's underneath here is better than everything else in the row.
Yeah. Absolutely. It was, yeah, I definitely rolled up and was keeping it out front on display for everybody to be kind of looking. So no, not the best. And, you know, sadly this time I was not as lucky and the bike is gone now. And I think that was end of September. So it's safe to say, like you mentioned earlier, it's probably out of the country and in one piece, or it could be in a million pieces, who knows, but I learned my lesson. That's for sure.
So, I guess we might as well talk about this. A lot of people were asking a little bit earlier, what are you considering of grabbing? I'm seeing a lot of people seeing Yamaha R1s. And I take it you might be a Ducati guy. Well, I wouldn't say might, because you've had the Monster Street Fighter, and then you went to the 959. So I'm assuming you're a little fanboyish like me. I mean, I have to admit it. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can't help myself. I'm not opposed to other brands, and I've actually come close to buying other bikes before. I was looking at the S1000RR pretty closely before I ended up on the Ducati. But every time when the time came to pull the trigger, I don't know. I felt more sort of in love with, you know, the Ducati and whatever I was looking at, and you're sort of in their lineup. And I've always been really partial to Ducati's older bikes. It's kind of funny. I remember, you know, for the first week or two, I was upset that the 959 was like too good, like they'd fix their fueling issues and stuff, and it didn't like rattle me around like my other Ducatis did. So I was a little bit disappointed that I lost some of that like character. I'm sure people are going to give me shit for that, but yeah, you know, I've been looking at the V4 Street Fighter. Obviously, you know, I loved the 848 so much, and that's something that, yeah, I know I want to see yours in person.
I'm not biased or anything like that. I'm just saying that if you buy that bike, you won't need anything else. Super versatile, great for the street, great for track. I wouldn't say perfect for track because you don't have wind protection, but it's the Swiss Army knife. Almost too easy to ride. It's easier to ride than my Monster.
Yeah, and that's what I've heard. Yeah. And it's just such a capable bike, and it's obviously more versatile, like you mentioned, than my Panigale. So that's definitely something that's sort of on the docket. I'm, you know, obviously I've been enticed by the V4S Panigale again if I want to be, you know, crazy and have one of those in Manhattan, which I think my girlfriend would kill me if I went that route. But I'm not opposed to other brands. Those are definitely just the ones that I've been looking most at. I got to ride an S1000RR a little while back, and that bike was awesome. But I don't know if that's something I want in the city. Like I said, I definitely think I want to go back to something naked, a little bit more upright position, something that is more comfortable. I definitely had to, get myself up to ride the Panigale every day in Manhattan, when I wanted to go take a ride, because it would be a little bit brutal.
So the funny thing is, you would enjoy this Panigale a lot once the season came around. I think since you're new to the city and then you're pretty much riding it locally, which is perfectly fine, but you jump on the West Side Highway, you head upwards. You could. There's some beautiful roads you check out that you would completely enjoy yourself, and food. So I'm a food guy, so I'm eating all the time, which is terrible.
Yep.
So you could definitely hit up Bear Mountain. You could definitely hit Hawks Nest. Bear Mountain State Park, of course, is a classic. Pretty much everyone knows. I hear they do like speed runs on there. Out in Jersey, there's a lot of really great roads and stuff. So, but for me, I always tell people this. I'm finally like coming to close to like not getting other bikes. I hope, please, dear Lord Jesus. I always felt like the idea is to kind of get like a super bike as my last, because it'd be one of those things I ride every now and then for fun. Like, let's say if I'm meeting up with people and everybody's riding super bikes, I'll bring mine. But I feel like I get way much more of my money's worth having something that's comfortable enough that I could ride all the time, because that's how I tend to justify getting the bikes, because it's like, if I buy something I ride, for a couple of hours on Sunday, it's like, is it worth spending like 30 grand on? It's like,
right.
At that point, you could just rent it, or rent something or something just to kind of fill that void and keep the money.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that would be the thing, man. But I think there's a lot of great roads that you're gonna enjoy, and I mean, dang, it's kind of hard to fight against a Panigale though, man. I'm like fighting the urge to buy this bike, but I know it's not really a need. It's more like I want it because of the styling cues of it. But again, with BMW, I think once anyone rides a BMW, they tend to easily want to buy one, because I think the same reaction that you've had from riding that S1000RR, same one I had when I rode Eep's bike. I wanted to buy it. I was like telling my wife, I'm gonna buy that bike. I really like it.
Yeah, no, I mean there's not really many flaws.
No.
It's really comfortable for a super bike. It rides really well. It's incredibly fast. It has, great electronics, a great dash, and yeah, I can't really think of a reason why you wouldn't buy it. So I was definitely enticed the first time I got on it. The only thing that kept me was it just didn't quite speak to me the same way that my 959 did, and I enjoyed it. Even though it kind of roasted me in Manhattan, and when I was kind of in the stop and go traffic, still put a smile on my face.
Yeah. Oh, quick question. Are you finding yourself splitting lanes out here? No.
Occasionally.
Okay.
Only when I'm stopped.
Okay. Because I'm like, on a Ducati, you're gonna definitely want to split lanes. I think as long as you're not going completely wild, the cops tend to be a little bit more lenient. You're not going like super aggressive in between, jumping in between. They tend to let you go or anything like that. I haven't really had too many issues if I were to split lanes. Every now and then, you would encounter someone. But
right.
Here's hoping that they don't. You probably would know this, but out here in New York, they give you like a ticket, and it will take points off your license. So that tends to have a huge impact. So
Gotcha.
If they do, that is kind of thing. Donna Main mentioned here you should get a V2. The 959 is the V2. It's just like a new version of it. And I don't know how great it would be to buy the same exact bike. Might as well experience something new. I'm just speaking from my point of view. What about you? Sorry.
No, I agree with you absolutely. I mean, that's kind of kept the V2 off my radar. It's a great bike, and I would love and enjoy riding one, but I kind of want to do something different. Every new bike that I've gotten has been for a new experience. So I think want something that gives me a little bit of a different feel.
Yeah, I agree. That guy Kelsey mentioned almost had my 636 stolen after the day after the bike don't touch the pavement. Sorry, the way he wrote is a little weird. Sorry, man. I'm just gonna abbreviate. He almost got his 636 stolen. The minute I guess he kind of had his bike out on the road for a bit, it was near his home. Yeah, it's pretty quick. These bikes get scooped up really quickly. They don't really kind of hotwire bikes anymore. Again, once you see a van roaming around your home or something like that, just be mindful, especially if your bike is outside. So, Is that a big issue also in DC when you were there, or no? Because it seems like it's not something that was prevalent when you were in DC.
Not to the same extent. It's funny. I was in a couple of different like Facebook groups, and they do like rides and meetups in DC, and there seemed to be a big problem with guys getting their bikes stolen in Northern Virginia, like just outside the city.
Okay.
But I never really ran into any issues inside the city, and none of my friends who had bikes inside the city ever had their bikes stolen either.
I think it's a comfortability things. What tend to happen is I think when a lot of people are in a suburb area, it's different. They kind of garage their bikes, not a problem. When most people are in a big city area, there's this group mentality that tends to happen where people feel like, hey, this is a big city. It's always active. People's always out. There's no way somebody's gonna be bold enough and just come and scoop my bike, right? That's what happens.
Yeah.
But weirdly, in a big city where a lot of things are happening, when it is happening, nobody really sees it because everyone's minding their business and just kind of going kind of thing. It's very rare. And even so, let's say out here in New York, if someone actually saw your bike getting stolen, nothing would be done. They would have told you the next day, hey, these guys came through and took your bike. They're not really going to engage them to stop them,
Right.
So that's one of the biggest thing here. Somebody here, Izzy Betancourt? Izzy Betancourt? Hopefully I'm saying that right. These goddamn online name guys. Come on, pick something easy. He said to get a Super Duke. Super Duke is very interesting. Very interesting.
And that's an enticing bike.
Yeah.
It looks like something you could just completely hoon. Me and my buddies have always talked about those bikes. They just look like they're an insane amount of fun. I've never gotten to be on one, but if I rode one, I might have to get one. I don't know.
I think if you rode a Super Duke, you're probably gonna feel the same way. I've ridden one. It wasn't the best experience, not because of the bike. It's just overall the experience with the team that was there when I rode it. And it was a demo bike, so it wasn't very well maintained. It was flat spots and stuff. So, but I love the look of it. I love the lines, very distinct. I don't know. Have you seen that Brabus collaboration with KTM? He just released. It's like a 30 grand. Is it? No, is it? I think it's 35,000. It's very reminiscent of a Diavo. It's like an upright almost. It feels very buff. Right. I would definitely go with the regular KTM R Evo. I think that's really cool. 5 Up here mentioned he owns one and he loves it. Which bike don't you own? This guy has a whole garage of bikes, everything. He's been on, actually, he has a Super Leggero as well.
Oh, so, of course. Okay. Well, yeah. I'd love one of those.
Yeah, me too. Sign me up. Oh, man. So how long have you been doing YouTube? Kind of walk us through that. At least I want to make sure that people get to know your channel and at least go hit it up and subscribe. So if you guys watching later, definitely do that. So walk me through some of the content because it doesn't seem only motorcycle focused right now. It's like getting your feel, the vibe that you want to have on the channel. A lot of creative stuff and stuff. Nice camera work, which I really love. That was the thing that I was like, I got to hit up Zach for sure.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah, and I've been doing YouTube sort of regularly for about a year. I mean, I kind of uploaded sort of sporadically, a couple of years ago. It was always something that I was a little bit interested in. I've been a filmmaker and photographer, and that's sort of been like a key element of my career outside of YouTube for a long time. So I sort of used the platform to just, upload creative short films that I was doing, or if I ever did like, commercial spots for clients, I would use YouTube as a place to house that. But I was never serious about sort of understanding how to kind of find my niche, build a community, the way the algorithm works, using tags, really how to like grow. I wasn't actively trying to get people to watch my work. I was simply using it as a place to house my work for a long time. And then I started to get more serious about it probably about a year ago. And I do a lot of, travel, lifestyle, and filmmaking content. And, a lot of the lifestyle is sort of centered around New York City. And a lot of the filmmaking content, a lot of the cinematic content that I was doing was really focused around the bikes and the motorcycles. Obviously, recently that has kind of changed. I've always been interested in doing, filmmaking content on a number of different subjects and topics, but, motorcycles are one of my major passions. So that was sort of the direction in which I was taking the channel before. Was all my, my real cinematic film content, motorcycles were going to be a big part of that. And I lost that outlet recently. But I've still continued to sort of focus and hone in on the other elements of the channel as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a really. I just pulled up your channel here as you're talking. That way, everybody can kind of see what you do and stuff like that. Sorry, guys. I know the view kind of changed as he was talking, but I wanted to kind of
No,
pull
all
it
good.
up so you guys could see some of his work. Like I said, man, I think your channel is going to be pretty cool. I mean, even though you mentioned that it wasn't like solely focused on doing these exact videos, but you know, if I were to look at it, I'd say it's pretty dope looking. You know, it's pretty cool banner. The thumbnails are pretty like pronounced, so you have a very good understanding. Probably, I would say probably even more so than I had coming into the game. Really, my understanding was more of hey man, just do exactly what I want and what I love, and then people will gravitate towards it. I mean, if I were to just observe your channel, I'd say you pretty much have a very good idea of how to present your work and have people click it, guys. So again, what you guys are seeing here on the actual page, definitely hit him up, subscribe on his channel, and hopefully we'll get some more motorcycle content. I think it's gonna be pretty cool, man. Just see here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm hopeful to be able to create that type of content again here real soon.
Yeah. Yeah, man. So anything particular you're looking to do? Oh, I wanted to ask you this about earlier. The work you did on your bike, did you do it yourself or you had a team work on it for you?
So a lot of the stuff that I did myself, I had the wrap done
Mm-hmm.
by a professional. It's actually funny. You know, I was in DC at the time and I went to a place near University of Maryland, and it's actually the same place that Stefan Diggs had his Ferrari wrapped
Oh, wow.
by these same guys. And it was, yeah, so that was a cool story because he went to University of Maryland before he got drafted. So this was the team that did his wrap for his 458, I believe. So they were awesome, and you know, they were kind of helped me through the whole process, and you know, kind of coming up with the concept and how I wanted the bike to look. So I had them do the wrap, but everything else was, you know, me sort of wrenching and tinkering myself.
Okay. So I'm assuming they did like a whole layout, like a pretty much like a digital layout on how it was gonna look. Because I think you went with more of a
Yep.
flat look where it was just the color was the key thing that you went for, man. But the bike looks incredible, to be honest. Just gonna pull up your Instagram here just so people could see it, guys. Also, I know I'm pulling up a lot of his pages here. I just want to make sure that you guys hit him up, and whether you're active on YouTube or you're active on Instagram, you could also check out his page and show some love, man. I'd appreciate it. So there we go. Let's do that. By the way, guys, if you have any questions for Zach or you want to ask anything before we wrap up, we're not going to keep the stream running all night today. Trying to be respectful to everyone that's here. Again, we appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's see here. Let's go. All right, there we go. Yep, so that's his page out there. So if you guys did not click the link in the description, you'll be able to link to his Instagram through there. But really nice photography work. I'm just gonna zoom in slightly here. All right, I'm gonna scroll past this girl a little bit before you bunch of maniacs kind of. Yeah, this was one of the video clips I saw, so pretty cool.
Do you remember where you were the first time you knew you wanted a motorcycle? I was 18, at a stoplight on an empty road. Nothing but hairpins outstretched for miles into the horizon. Then, it appeared. The distinct grumble and sputtering of the despotromic valves firing within the forged aluminum air-cooled L-twin that made the Ducati famous. A quick nod from the rider, the light turned green, and it was gone, almost as if it had been a dream. From that day on, I knew I'd own one. I wanted to experience the freedom, the reckless abandon that can only come from a twist of the throttle in the open country. In life, you spend a lot of time only half experiencing moments. There's always something to worry about, something to be planning for. When you're on a bike, there's nothing you can do but ride the bike. There's a simple joy between horse and rider, one that's been ingrained in our blood since the beginning stages of humanity. It's what makes us human. So I went for it. A 696, Street Fighter 848, 1100 Evo later, and I finally bought my dream Ducati. The Panigale.
Really, really cool, man. I'm telling you guys, kid, he has skills, man. So that's really cool, man. Very, very excited. I think, you know, it's going to be a good year for you on YouTube for sure. Any good questions for me while we're here? Might as well throw that in there before I jump into everyone dropping questions. He has a puppy, guys. That's what it is. Pretty cool. Actually, a really big dog compared to my dog.
Yeah, he is big, and he likes to lay with me in my office usually when I'm in here. So he's kind of freaking out outside the door that he's not allowed in.
Oh, come on, let him in.
Hold on one sec.
Yo, my wife loves dogs, so she should be like, oh, he's gonna come. Watch.
Now he can come in if he wants to.
Guys, if you have any questions, definitely drop them in the comment section. And yeah, if you're watching this later, again, I do this all the time, the roll call, where I ask you to hit that thumbs up. You're watching it later. You can always comment as well. All right. There you go, Zach. So any good questions for me, man, while we're here? So it's not just firing one way. So I'm here. I would answer any stuff as well. Yeah.
No, man, I'd love to sort of hear about your experience starting YouTube and kind of what it's been like for you and the success that you've seen so far. If you have tips and tricks for people who are, you know, in the beginning stages of getting started, just be kind of great to hear about your story and your experience thus far.
So for me, YouTube has been a long journey, man. I mean, I guess I'm a bit of a hard head kind of person. I have a pretty good understanding of the structure, but you never really know enough when we're talking about YouTube because it's a constant evolving platform that's learning, that's growing, or at least optimizing at all times. But one of my biggest areas of opportunity, I mentioned in a couple of streams, I've mentioned this. Early on, I was very stubborn. You know, my overall understanding was do what I like and be as creative as I want, and then the crowd will follow. And I don't think that's something that I would advise anyone. There's a different path for every single person that jumps on YouTube based on what their strengths are. So I think it's better to kind of look at your overall channel in comparison to what the market is comparing you to before saying, hey, I'm just going to do Panigale videos. Because I somewhat fell into the whole Ducati thing where to the point where I have multiple of them, but then now most people are interpreting my channel as just a Ducati thing, which I don't think it is. It's just that it just happened to be the bike that I enjoy and I like riding, and I have a whole story behind me riding these bikes. You know, I grew up not being able to even get them, and as I interned at a design studio near the Ducati dealership, I used to go there on my lunch break and just look at the bikes and stuff and just really setting goals and really positioning myself to excel for the bikes, really, which is kind of dumb when you really look at it, because who wants to just really do that just for the bikes? You would think you want to do it for life overall. But it ended up having a huge impact, not just on motorcycles, really the way I structure my life and how I set goals to accomplish other real essential things through my life. So, but that's just me going on a little bit of a tangent. But yeah, I think some of your strong suits here, I love the thumbnails, which looks great. Some of your storytelling is really cool. I would say that's one of the starting points, right? Start doing what you like, what you enjoy, and then from there you start tailoring it directly to what you're trying to do. I think back in the days, tags were huge. I don't know how big tags are now. Again, it's changing all the time, really. So that's one of the key things for me. I've been doing it for years, and I think my channel would have been a lot further. I've never been one of those people that felt the need to follow a crowd and say, hey, everybody's doing this and doing that, I'm going to do it as well just so I can take off. And that was one of my biggest issues. Because now I'm looking at it, if I did do that for a period of time, for a short period of time, I would have been a lot further, and then I would have been able to do exactly what I want and love. But in that same vein, I managed to really carry my channel the way I really wanted to. I got some pretty good sponsorships. I have some pretty good companies that supports what I do, even though it's not huge. Motivation USA. What else we got? We got Louis Moto Seats. I did some work with. A lot of companies are escaping me. Duke Bike. I mean, I've worked with Moto Gadget. I've worked with a lot of them. It's not a huge thing, and granted, it's like it's put me in a really good position where I'm able to get the bikes that I really want, and if I want parts for them, they're more than willing to do like sponsorship deals and stuff like that. So at least that's been working for me. But now I think for 2022, my focus is really to grow the channel further and then still produce content. So I don't know if you knew, but I host Motivation's channel as well. That's at least part of my side hustle. So that works as well. Yeah. Hopefully that somewhat answers that. That was kind of a long-winded one, so sorry.
No, it's great to hear, and it's funny. I was really excited that you reached out to me. I've watched your channel for a number of years now, back when I was in DC, because obviously being interested in New York and like you Ducatis, typing in, Ducati NYC, that was one of my search keywords a lot, and your videos would come up. And I remember you were doing a lot of cool, mods and changes to your air-cooled monsters. So I would watch those and kind of gain inspiration for what to do with mine. And, it's been cool to see your videos. It's cool to see somebody that, I was a fan of and a creator yourself that I really enjoy, be able to connect with me, and hopefully we can do some work together in the future and, collaborate now that we're both in the same city. So I'm pumped.
Hells yeah, man. I think, I bump into so many people all the time. It's like, oh, I've seen your channel. I've watched your stuff. Dude, if you guys, somebody's watching my channel, if you hit it up and you think there's something interesting, hit me up. I'm pretty welcoming. I try to be, at least. I try not to be a douchebag. I love meeting people and hanging out and exchanging notes and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool. I try my best to be that way. So yeah, for sure. I'm so glad that I reached out, because I'm like, what's so funny? After I saw your page, and I think I dropped your comment. I was like, I dropped your sub, and hit me up. I don't remember if I was if I said that, or I said, oh, I'd like to have you on the stream. And I'm like, this guy is never gonna hit me back. Fuck. That's what I was thinking. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, he's probably busy, or because the minute, the funny thing is, the minute you recognize somebody's in the city you're in, it's like, oh my God, he's in the city. I mean, that's so dope. So
right. No, absolutely. Yeah, it's fun. Yeah, because I saw I think your DM come through, and I was like, oh, that's not the same guy on YouTube, but that's the same tag. And then I checked out your page, and I was like, oh man, all right, he wants to have me on the stream, and he's in the city, we could ride together. I was excited. At first I wasn't even positive it was the same dude, but I'm glad that I did hit you back.
Yes, sir, man. I appreciate it, man. I think it's great. I'm glad we got to share your story. Hopefully some people walk away and take something from it and kind of understand the importance of really storing your bike properly, depending where you live. Or more importantly, make sure you have full coverage on your bike, because when things does go down, you want to make sure you're good, especially if you work really hard to kind of get what you really want. It's heart-wrenching. And I also, one thing I think you didn't touch on, you somewhat touched on slightly, but you didn't go super into depth. What happened is that when you said your bike got taken the first time, you almost didn't want it. It's the violation aspect. There's this violation that happened. It's almost like it's not the same bike, even though you get it. It's like,
yes,
it's not the same.
Yes, exactly. And I'm one of those guys where, like, it felt different when I was riding afterwards.
Yes.
To me, like, no matter what, like, I just couldn't get it out of my head.
Yes.
So no, it's not the same bike.
Yeah. There's this psychological thing that happens when something like this does happen. Your bike gets stolen and you get it back. You have this inkling, thing behind you. It's like, what did they do to it? Or, is it still running right? Or it just,
right.
And it's really really, it's like a compulsive thing. It's almost like, maybe I should just sell this and and really start fresh, because it's not the same. I thought I was the only person. I think a lot of people shares this, but you don't hear a lot about it. That's why I'm like picking up these small cues and kind of really mentioning this. All right, I'm just gonna, what's up? We have my boy Angelo here. He's a filmmaker as well, dude. He does he used to do motorcycle content. He stopped writing, but he does wedding films now, so which is kind of cool.
Awesome.
Just gonna kind of go through some of the comment, guys. If you have any questions or comment, if you want to throw in on the chat, that'll be pretty dope. We're just gonna kind of go over those and not keep Zach here all night. It is Sunday. I'm sure he works the next day, and now everybody else does. So, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of pull this up real quick. Give me a second. By the way, I don't know how much you guys notice how easy I'm doing this now. It was a lot of work trying to manage the stream solo, and the and the live chat. Man, it's been a process, really, just streaming on the channel. But I really enjoy doing it, and I'm having more and more fun every single Sunday doing this with you guys. So, again, I appreciate everybody tuning in. Really cool. If you're here, hit that thumbs up. We're just going to be wrapping things up for the rest of the night. So if you're here, you want to ask any questions about his bike, about what went down. Yeah, Zach, so you wouldn't be on the screen, but you could definitely be able to jump in and reply to pretty much anyone that's asking any questions. But I will be populating the comments on the stream.
Cool.
All right, cool. Let's see here. I am not gonna scroll from the very top, guys, because I'm sure there's a couple that's been there that let me see here. So I'm gonna go a little bit backwards. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. You know what? I have to do it the other way around. I don't have a choice because it wouldn't make sense. Dude, I feel like my mind runs all over the place all the time, which is bad. Donamine here mentioned he had a 1200 and he sold it last year. I know you mentioned that before. Have you picked up your new bike yet? I know in a couple of streams ago you mentioned that you're still looking for a new bike. It might not be a good spot. Last week I went to buy another bike, which is the bike I was going to get for my birthday. Everything I found was extremely upmarked, ridiculously, so I didn't want to fork anything out. So hopefully I'll find what I need and you guys will see it. I'll give you a hint. It's probably not a Ducati this time. Huh? You guys didn't see that coming. All right, let's see what I got. So the Iron Shepherd mentioned you should get a Yamaha for your next bike.
That's certainly worth considering. I've seen the R6 and the R1, and I like those. Yamaha makes a couple sort of more, cafe racer naked looking, like the XSR. That's not a bad looking bike. I'd have to swing a leg over one. I've really, I rode one Yamaha that was my buddy's bike, but it was sort of more of like a starter bike. So I haven't really experienced any of their more top of the line bikes, but I'd be interested. I'm not opposed.
Quick question. What's your take on the R7?
Again, I'd have to ride it. I'm intrigued. I'm certainly intrigued. But I feel like I can't formulate enough of opinion just not having ridden any of Yamaha's like really nice bikes. Obviously, I've heard great things about the R6 and the R1, and their technology is amazing and they ride really well. But I myself just haven't gotten to experience it yet, and I kind of need to broaden my motorcycle horizons, I think, over the course of the next year or so here, because I've gotten to ride a lot of different types of bikes, but they've all really been in the Ducati family.
So Futuristic Viper mentioned here, there's a chain you can get that's so tough bolt cutters can't break it. Sounds like Zach could have used that. So the thing is about having chains on your bike, I think there's a myth if you have a chain on your bike. I think it's more of a deterrent daytime kind of thing. If people see it, they're not going to touch your bike. But if someone really want to steal your bike, chain or not, or wheel lock or not, again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, they usually bring a van to just lift the bike. Two guys could lift any one of these motorcycles and put it anywhere they really want. So it's one of those things. So what do you think, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, obviously anything more I could have done to help deter it getting stolen would have been helpful. I mean, I probably should have taken more measures if I was going to have it on the street, but ultimately just don't have your bike on the street. And, it took learning the hard way twice for me. So don't be as stupid as I am. And I think that's probably the best course of action.
Also, we have another comment here by Futuristic Viper. He's basically asking me, why do I think wiring harness costs so much? I think my wording might have been a little bit off there. Not just so. I don't know if you saw when I had the Ducati technician on maybe like 2 streams ago. It's not necessarily the wiring harness that is very expensive, because I'm sure they have like a bulk of them in their factory building the bikes. So buying it is one thing, and it's an Italian bike, so it's coming from a foreign place. That cost is one thing. Also, you have to wait for it to be shipped. Now, you also have to factor in someone has to take that bike apart. Again, we went into details about getting work done on the bike. That's why I had that technician on, just kind of explain things and get a better idea. Yes, the harness might not be super expensive. It might not be too much of something that's going to cost you. But think about it this way. Having to rewire a bike means you have to go all the way down to the skeleton of that bike. So the amount of labor, and remember, he's here in New York, we're talking about $150 to $200 an hour maybe to get that work done. So that one wiring harness that might have cost you $100 can instantly become really expensive. Right? Do you agree, Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, just it adds up, and especially when you're going to a dealership in the heart of Manhattan, you know, you're obviously paying for, you know, the top of the line service and top of the price point service as well. So it can add up really quickly. And like you mentioned earlier, you know, the fact that I still had to pay $1,300 out of pocket while having full insurance coverage, it could have been even more expensive had I decided to sort of forego all the coverage that I had.
Yep. So Life with Anna B here mentioned what I've seen how many bikes have been stolen here in New York through Spiegel's IG page. So I'll kind of run you through what's Spiegel. Spiegel was like a really dope place out you would have loved, really, but it's been closed down. Or the thieves have a van and literally lift the bike onto the van. Those bastards. Yeah, so Spiegel's like a motorcycle theme restaurant where everyone kind of go. If you bring your helmet, you get like 10-20% off your food. And it was just a big community, but through the whole COVID thing that they didn't survive that. But I'll introduce you to Chmael. He actually does go to the Two Wheel Tuesday and stuff like that. Great guy. So that was his restaurant that we all used to kind of go and hang out in. So yeah,
yeah, that's a bummer. They didn't survive COVID. It happened to a lot of really great places.
Yeah, they actually even had like a was it a GoFundMe? I think it might have been a GoFundMe. They raised quite a bit of money too, but it still didn't make it and stuff. So everyone kind of shared it. Pretty much everybody out through New York was contributing to it. So that was pretty cool that everyone came together to help. Someone's asking here. Douglas is asking, when is the next ride? Definitely gonna do some cool rides this season. I think I was a bit of a recluse in the past year or two. Only plus, I did mention I was dealing with a lot of stuff personally with life and my wife and stuff like that. But we're definitely going to be doing some rides and meeting people. And you guys know I don't ride with big groups. I'm talking about maybe 3 max. Just be respectful and be safe. I want to make sure I go out there and ride with people and go back home. I don't want any bullshit. So no testosterone, no like flexing on other people. Everybody just having a good time and get some food. So definitely for sure we'll be doing that. Let's see here. Oh, that's pretty cool. Mr. 20 West mentioned here a little bit earlier. That's why he throws in a GPS tracker on his bike and alarm. Again, these are small detractors that can help. I think I've seen a couple. But I think if they take your bike and take it to a different country, you know, there's so much your tracker is going to be able to do. And I've seen cases, or at least heard of cases where people have trackers on their bikes. It gets stolen. They're able to track the bike, and they go to the precinct and say, hey, this is where my bike is. When you're dealing with the politics and them having to get up and go and do it, it's not as easy for them to say, hey, my bike's on 135th Street, go and get it. That's not how it works. So, and then you can't go and do it yourself because you're not going to confront thieves. Of course, they're criminals. Who knows what could happen? So that's the deal, right? You agree, Zap, or no?
No, absolutely. I mean, you can be looking on your phone as to where your bike is, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to be able to get it back. Like you said, you're certainly not going to go and confront these people right away. And by the time that you're able to get law enforcement out there, who knows, it could be in an entirely different location and you kind of go on a wild goose chase there. But, little things that could probably help sort of deter people. But, I feel like ultimately you just have to be smart and garage your bike. You really don't put it at risk of having any of this stuff happen in the first place. Because once it's gone, like you mentioned, even if you get it back, it can be expensive, doesn't necessarily feel or operate the same. And that's if you're lucky enough to even get the motorcycle back.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. We have Governor D Nice mentioned here. Sounds like you should get another monster. Ooh.
He makes a good point. I definitely am very partial to the monsters, and particularly some of the older air-cooled monsters. So it's something that I've thought about for sure. I've also kind of been interested in the 1200R, something that's, versatile, really high performing, but also comfortable and kind of gives you that sort of monster heritage and feel. But yeah, no, I think the monster's probably high on my list too.
Yeah, so like I said, I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, I'm a big fan of the Monster. I think it's a great bike. One of my favorite ones, I would say right now, let's say if I were to be able to, oh my God, I need to stop saying that. If I were able to buy this bike, which is bad. I love the 1200S 2016 and up and stuff. Even Motivation had mentioned, hey, if you get this bike, we can make it whatever you want. So they have pretty much everything for that bike, which is really cool. Let's see here. Douglas here just mentioned he picked up a 2012 Diavel. Can I ask you a question about your Diavel? I did a video today about the new X Diavel Nera, right? Does your 2012 have the tucked in passenger pegs that's hidden like below? I mentioned that was one of those things that Ducati did and they removed it, and I have no idea why. It was one of the coolest thing I've seen, where you could hide the passenger pegs. I think Triumph Rocket is doing that now. So, and then they took it off, which is kind of wild. So, comment below. Let me know. Well, not below, you in the live chat. I mean, let me know if yours does have the tuck-in passenger pegs. Futuristic Viper here. The tough thing is about you having your bike covered up. There's a mystery lies. There's a mystery. And yeah, that's exactly what I mean. If your bike is covered, that means it's the best bike there. So let's snatch it. It's kind of like a red flag a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. People were curious.
I don't know if you've ever been to Revzilla. Life with Anna B mentioned here we should take a trip out to Revzilla when you get your bike. Have you been out there?
No, I have not been out there. It's in Philly, right?
Yeah.
Their warehouse and their setup.
Sir.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Revzilla, and I obviously have used them for a lot of my parts, and they make some cool videos too. I would love to get out there at some point. Obviously, doing a ride would be really fun, but I've not had the pleasure of being there yet.
Yeah.
Have you made the trip?
Yes, sir. We've done some rides where it was like I think between 4 to 7 of us rode out there. It was really, really fun. And then after that, we got food and check out museums and stuff like that. So I think that'd be a cool ride to check out. I'm down, absolutely, but I wouldn't ride. It would either be the Monster or the Hyper. I want to be like super chilling, like nothing crazy to get
yeah,
up there.
and I've been admiring your Hyper throughout the whole stream. I was meaning to ask you what you think of it, because it's always been something that looks like just would be such a fun bike to daily for me, and I've not gotten to ride one yet. So do you love it?
I really, really like the bike a lot. I always tell people maybe I'm a little bit spoiled, right? I always tell people if you're buying any of these bikes and you're buying the Hyper as your only bike, don't do it. But I think it's just me being a little bit spoiled. I was saying that I felt like it's not as fast, but it is definitely a fast bike. You're going through the gears a lot because it's designed for you to kind of get a lot of torque, a lot of power very, very quickly. I found myself redlining it a lot after I rode the Street Fighter because the RPMs are so high on the Street Fighter, and I have to kind of rewire my brain. Hey, it's a different bike kind of thing. But really fun, lots of torque. It sounds absolutely nasty, man. Let me crank it up. 1 second. Let me crank it.
Perfect.
Oh, 1 second. It's nasty. Hold on 1 sec, guys. Might as well swap the view real quick here. But yeah, it's freaking nasty, man. Sounds incredible. Wrong key. Hopefully it starts up nice and quick. Hopefully Ducati don't embarrass me. I was just saying, hopefully it starts up nice and quick. You know how Ducatis are. Nah, I maintain my bikes. They tend to start up pretty quick. And I kind of mix up my keys. So hold on, starting it up now. Ugh. I don't think my neighbors like that very much.
It sounds so good, man. That SC Project exhaust.
Yo, sorry. I don't think my neighbors like that very much.
Yeah, no, I was saying it sounds so good. That SC Project exhaust is nuts.
Yeah, it's nasty, man. It sounds really, really good in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that was wild. Ugh. Damn, I'm gonna be smelling like exhaust all night probably now.
I was gonna say, can you still breathe in there?
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, I really like the bike. It's super torquey, man. Lots of power. It's really, really fun. Really. There's not much to say about it. What I like about it is the fact that you're gonna be very high up. You're gonna have a lot of clearance out here in New York with it. So, you know, if it's something that you're interested in, you like, you know what? I'll bring it around, man. I'll let you whip it around. Then you can make your own opinion about it.
That would be awesome.
Yeah. Let me see here what I got. Sorry, guys. I totally hopefully I didn't blow up the mic out a little bit with that. But that thing spits fire. I love it. It's really.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let me see here. Damn, that got my heart racing a little bit. Douglas mentioned you might as well get a Diavo as well. I love how people are like, you might as well get the Diavo too, guys. It's like he has a money tree back there in his house, and he just kind of shakes it, and everything comes out.
Yeah, obviously. you know, when I got the Panigale fixed, it was tough. I just had to step into my guest room, which I'm fortunate enough to even have in Manhattan. But that's where I keep all my extra cash. And yeah, that's where I'll just grab a Diavo as well.
Let's see what I got here. What else here? Oh, this is a good one. Bud's mentioned here with New York cracking down on loud pipes. Would you just go slip on rather than a full system? Good question. So for me, I don't know, man. I mean, if you're not doing track days, you're not really beating lap times. Slip-ons are just as fine. I think in the case of SC, I have them across all my bikes. They're allowed no matter which one you get. The full system SCs that you get, they are ridiculous. I rode with a friend of mine. I actually have a video with him. I never upload it. It's so loud. It's like really, really bad. I mean, I had earplugs on. That's how bad it was, and I could still remember. And he was rocking wheelies through Manhattan, and it was just like popping and exploding. You could see like huge flames coming out. I'm like, this is not ideal for the street. Like you're just asking for someone to pull you over and say, hey, man, we got to take your bike kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, you're drawing a lot of attention with something like that.
Yeah. I 100% agree. His work. So this is for you, Zach, man. He Governor of the United States. His work quality is very film-like. Nicely done, Zach.
No, I appreciate that, Governor. That's definitely the type of content and the look that I'm going for. Obviously, being a filmmaker, and that's kind of a big part of my career and what I do on YouTube. That's the exact type of look that I'm going for. So I really appreciate the love.
Yeah, so Live Anatomy, you mentioned you have a Great Dane, so that's gonna be the conversation for the rest of the night. She's like a huge dog person, so she's probably gonna be like, yes, you should get a Great Dane. I'm like, nah, it's really big.
They are big, man, and the tough thing is once you get them, they're just like the greatest dogs as well. So I don't know if I'll be able to go back to anything else, and I know that my girlfriend certainly, she's already mentioned getting a second one. So it could be a slippery slope, but they're awesome dogs, and he's great, and he's well adjusted to the city. So everyone always asks, how do you have a dog like that in an apartment? But they're actually pretty good apartment dogs. They're lazy. They just kind of hang out.
Yeah.
And you can hear them in the background.
All right, guys. So we're just going to wrap it up real quick here. I just wanted to say a big shout out to Anthony Lamastro. He did a super chat as well. Thank you, man. Always appreciate it. That definitely helps with the channel. Anything else you guys want to throw in there before we let Zach go and call it a night? I think I have to get out the garage because that exhaust smells pretty strong in here, unless you guys don't want me to make it for the next video, man. So I'll let Zach kind of wrap up. That way you guys could go and check out his channel.
Yeah, no, Mike, I really appreciate you having me on today. This is really cool, and I'm excited about how we can collaborate and hang in the future. And for everybody who was able to kind of go and show my channel some love, check out some of my work. If you like what you're seeing, drop a sub. That'd be really appreciated. I would really appreciate that, and I'm excited to sort of see where things go in this next year in New York, both on YouTube and just in the real world as well. But no, I really appreciate you having me on here, man.
Yeah, man. It was really cool, man. I am looking forward to hooking up with you and riding and shoot some content and just get some food. Pretty much. That's the most important thing. Eating is very important.
Absolutely. I'm only coming if we got food. You got to show me the good spots, man.
Hells yeah. We got some really dope spots to check out for sure. 100%. Guys, thank you everybody else for tuning in. I appreciate you guys always watching and supporting the channel. Again, I mentioned a little bit earlier, dropped 4 videos this week. Actually 3 videos, 1 short, and of course a stream. If you haven't watched any one of them, go check them out. Hit that thumbs up. It's going to help, and it's going to keep the channel going and at least help me out. All right, guys. Thank you all for tuning in, man. I'll catch you guys later. Peace. Yeah, man, that was cool. Thank you so much, Zach, for tuning in, man, coming on.